Hey everybody, how's it going? So, this is going to be a Pre-Heresy and Codices introduction ramble because I want to go ahead and update that series. And for those, and this is before I say that, this is kind of bring everybody on the same page, kind of give you the why, and I want to update the stuff and a little bit of basic info, real basic, for collecting a Space Marine Legion force. So, there we go, finally. Anyways, something was droning in my ear and I got it to stop. Now, what the Pre-Heresy and Codices series is where I take one Legion per ramble and I give you my thoughts and opinions on what codex or codices from GW would best represent that Legion for an army list. And the why I want to update it is because, well, editions have come and gone, and codices have been updated. And even though we have the Horus Heresy Forge Rule books, which are a fantastic series of books that they're producing for information on the legions, rules-wise for legions, and making a Legion army list, which is what a bunch of us call 30k, Warhammer 30k lists for your legions. While that's out there and that's great, if you want to be able to play in your local club or stores, tournaments, leagues, campaigns, and other type of special events they may be running that aren't tailored towards the Pre-Heresy time period, you're gonna need a 40k army list out of a codex to play in those. So this lets you have that 30k army list and then pick a codex and make that 40k army list, and therefore no matter what situation you're in, you can still bust out that army and play it. So that's the why. Now, looking at collecting a Pre-Heresy Space Marine Legion, there's some things you got to consider. First off, we are talking about legions of Space Marines, not the 1,000 strong chapter or rough equivalent warband. We're talking about tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands strong legions. What that means, all bets are kind of off. While yes, every legion has a particular speciality and method of warfare, you could really build a legion army list how you want it, in a sense, especially with this Unbound stuff. So really, you have a lot more freeway, a lot more leeway. Did I say freeway? A lot more freedom and a lot more leeway to go ahead and really collect the force you want to collect of the legion you want to play. And I think that makes it kind of fun. And you have this leeway over 1,000 strong Space Marine chapter because you have the pure numbers. Just the size of the Space Marine legions, there's no reason why you wouldn't have a pure detachment of Terminators in a Raven Wing setting, or a pure a heavy armored column in your White Scars legion or whatever it is. There's no real reason for not having that, especially prior to the drop site massacre for some legions. With that being said, color scheme. Color scheme does change for a decent amount of legions pre to post heresy. So no matter what legion you're playing, do a bit of research. Just confirm the color scheme that you're going to paint them up is the correct one for the pre-heresy time period. This also includes accent colors. You don't have to go super crazy with your research, but just see if there's a blatantly obvious thing kind of glaring out there. For example, something that kind of popped up because of Black Library novels is the red helmet for Ultramarine Space Marines. What the red helmet means pre and post heresy is different. I'll get into that when I talk about that legion. Remember, this is an intro thing. No legion specifically is being talked about. What I'm going over now is just the real basic overarching things you got to remember for Space Marine legions, just on the whole. Moving on, symbols. The Imperial Eagle and the Crux Terminatus are the two big ones. The Crux Terminatus is not used pre-heresy. Forget about the fact that it's said to contain a sliver of the Emperor's own armor, because he's alive and wearing it at this time. But forget about that fact. The symbol is not really utilized. And you can see that in practice when you look at Forge Rules Horus Heresy Tartaros Terminator armor. It's called Legion Tartaros Pattern Terminator armor. It's different from their regular Tartaros Pattern Terminator armor. It's actually two different kits. The regular one has the Crux Terminatus on the shoulder pad. The Legion one doesn't. Now, if you're putting together something and it happens to have a small crux terminata symbol somewhere, it's not emblazoned across the entire model, don't worry about trying to remove it. Just paint it up. You can say it's a mark of veteranship or for a particular campaign or whatever it is, but you don't have to go crazy and trying to remove all traces of the crux terminatus if it happens to be on a model. But it's not really a thing you have to worry about ensuring is there, because it didn't really utilize it. Now, the Imperial Eagle, it was utilized, but only by the Emperor's children, as a legion as a whole. You may see some vehicles, maybe a dreadnought or so. You may even see a Space Marine hero who was awarded the Imperial Eagle on their armor. I mean, sculpted onto their armor. Which is okay, it happens. It's done in different legions. It's a particular mark of honor and all that good stuff, but by and large it's not utilized by the legion, so avoid it at all costs unless you're playing Emperor's Children. And I say that because, again, you may encounter a dreadnought model or a model that maybe has a small Imperial Eagle on it, or even has the Imperial Eagle pretty obviously on it. You can't avoid it 100% of the time. So just make do with it. Now, with that being said, the other thing to keep in mind is we're talking about the 31st millennium. So the armor is a bit different pre and post heresy. And this is where I'm gonna start sounding like I'm copying, I'm just copping out or whatever it is, because it's gonna sound like a cop out. There we go. Because what I'm gonna basically be saying is Forge World. Mark II through Mark VI for power armor. That's it. Terminator armor, the standard GW Terminator armor, does not work for a pre-heresy time period without some major conversion. The vehicles, everything basically looks different. And here's my recommendation. Look at what Forge World has on the Horus Heresy web, part of the webpage. And Forge World has made all these sculpts for the Horus Heresy time period, but any time period for Space Marines could utilize it, obviously. But if you want to play in a Horus Heresy, a Pre-Heresy, a Great Crusade era list, you're going to need to make it look the part as well. So Forge World has all the marks of the power armor there. Interestingly enough, Mark V isn't in the Horus Heresy section. I kind of understand why, but it's also kind of funny. So they have all the marks there. They have the Terminator armor, which Cataphracti is my favorite, up there to buy as well. They got the vehicles. They got basically your entire army list set up right there to purchase as Horus Heresy look. And here's my recommendation. At the very least, utilize it as a visual reference for what you can do to convert up your own tanks, and let's say, or your own power armor, or whatever it is. At the very least, use it as a visual reference for conversions if you're good at doing that type of stuff. And I would say, at the very least, if you're going to be fielding Terminators or a Land Raider, buy them from Forge World. The look is different enough that they did a good job with those sculpts. You might as well purchase those at the very least and go about converting up the rest of your force. A couple of things to consider here. The first thing to consider is Land Raider and some other things in Space Marine Codices of a particular variant are not utilized during the Great Crusade because they weren't around. An example would be the Land Raider Crusader and Redeemer. As it stands with their fluff thus far, there is no Crusader or Redeemer patterns of Land Raiders during the Great Crusade or the Horus Heresy. Those are found post-Heresy. Crusader by the Black Templars, and the Redeemer found/built by the Fire Lords, if I remember correctly. So those patterns are out. And the best way to kind of determine it in a codex, what vehicle or whatever it is, or its unit, is a very much a post-heresy thing, is to look up the fluff of that unit in the codex. They tend to tell you. For example, Space Marine Centurions, if I remember correctly, they kind of state, these guys were named after the Great Crusade leaders of Space Marine forces, which would imply that they are a post-heresy unit and therefore shouldn't be utilized pre-heresy. And that goes for the Redeemer and the Crusader. And as I go over the Space Marine legions in more in a more specific way in their rambles, I'll go over some units that I feel should or should not be utilized, or mostly should not be utilized, and what units I'll pick out as examples that you could still utilize even though there may be something, special. So there's that. And the other thing you got to consider is money. GW's kits, the hobby of wargaming isn't cheap. But when you look at GW's Tactical Marine kit, you may look at that and go, you know what, this is a cheaper thing to buy than buying stuff from Forge World. I'll use this and make the best of it. I'll take this stuff and use what I can. I won't use the Mark 7 helmet, and I'll try to avoid the Imperial Eagle stuff. Alright, well, you're left with a head shortage, and you're probably going to be able to make, I'm going to just throw out a number, just as, I don't know if this is true or not, I haven't actually checked. I don't know how many Imperial Eagle chess pieces are there. Maybe you can make 7 guys out of the 10. That's 70%. You're paying 100% to get 70% of the product. And that's because those kits are designed with the 40k time period in mind, not 30k. And when you look at that, the money you're spending versus the actual product you're receiving at the end, as an end result after you're all done, especially if you don't have another space reinforced you can throw the other 3 models into, is not equivalent here. So the stuff you buy from Forge World for the Horus Heresy time period, you're going to utilize everything from it in terms of the armor kit and the bolter kits and stuff like that. You're going to utilize everything. So it may work out to be in your best interest to purchase stuff from Forge World when you can. And of course, there's always a way to kind of take the stuff you have and make more of it without purchasing more of it. You know what I'm referring to. I'm not going to condone it, nor am I going to stand against it, because I know it's a fact of life when it comes to wargaming. And if you happen to be somebody or know somebody who can do this type of process, then you have an easier time when it comes to bulking out your force, let's just say. So, all these things to consider. But really, if you're not really sure what stuff during the Pre-Heresy time period looks like, you have artwork out there, but because these are actual models, I feel the stuff Forge World produces is a better visual reference for you, and that way you can decide, I can do that on my own, or I gotta purchase it from here. It's up to you. But anyways, that's it for this ramble. Went on a bit longer than I anticipated, but thanks for sticking through it. And the others that will come for Pre-Heresy and Codices will be the legions themselves. So, until next time, take it easy.